Okay, YouTubers, paranormal police, pareidolia police, and quasi-scientific people that deny life on any other planet than Earth, you're all welcome. Today, we're going to be looking at some rather strange things in this set of images from Sol 136 from the Curiosity Rover. Now, these images were taken right back in the first year that the rover was on Mars, 7 years ago. So we're going right back to the first year. And in fact, it's almost 7 years to the day, because I think it landed in July of 2012. And we got this quite interesting set of images here. We've got a mixture of foreground images showing close-ups of the foreground, and we've got some showing background images of Aeolis Mons or Mount Sharp in the background. So the two images I'm going to concentrate on today are this one, showing the mountain. We've got all these big mounds up here. You won't see a lot of detail in here until you actually remove the orange filter. The orange filter makes everything look flat. It does mean you can see into shadows, but what it does, it flattens everything out, and it's hard to work out what you're looking at a lot of the time. So really, if you want to know how to enhance these images or just make them clearer, there is on my website, on my channel, I mean, if you go to playlists, there is a playlist called Image Tutorials. So you may want to watch some of that. You don't have to watch all of it. There's about 20 videos on there, and they all give you instructions on how to remove the orange filter and enlarge these images and enhance them without making them worse than they already are. Okay, so check that out if you want to do that. There was that one there, and there was this image here with these rather strange, this kind of strange ridge line here in the foreground. So those are the ones we're looking at. There's quite a lot of images in this set, and a lot of them are just showing kind of rocks and pebbles and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to go through all of those. We're just going to concentrate today on the ones that I've picked out. I'm sure there are lots of other things I've missed, as I always do, but what I normally do, as always, is concentrate on the clearer, larger things wherever possible. And there's lots of kind of smaller rocks and things that look odd, but I usually tend to leave those to other people to look at, because basically when you're trying to make an HD video like I am today, you can't really show everything that's in the image because some of it's too vague and too small and there's not enough detail to show. So first, let's have a look at the mountain. Now this is going to look very pasty and sort of brown. We've got the orange peak filter on here, and basically this is the big mound I was talking about. And this is very odd because it's got a structure, which you can actually see here in the raw image. We've got a structure on top of it here. Now you need to let your eyes adjust to that, or you need to enhance it and change the image to get rid of that orange filter. Now I use something called fade correction, which works quite well, and that makes the image a lot easier to look at, but it's still quite muddy. This is miles away from the rover, and the camera hasn't zoomed in very far, so we're cropping the image and looking into the image from a long way off. So we're not going to see a great deal of detail, but there is on top of this mound some rather strange structures. We've got a sort of the big mound here, which comes down like this, and there's this long kind of structure on top, and you can just about make out there's a square structure there. There's another kind of rhomboid sort of structure there, like a roof or two roofs together there, and another one here, but you're not going to see it very clearly until I show you the later enhancements. Actually, let's go to that one where I've brightened it more. Let me flick through these. When you brighten it up, you can actually see that there's a structure on top of this thing. Now, why would a so-called natural butte or mound or rock structure like this on the side of a mountain have something like that on top of it? Because a lot of these mounds and structures are actually artificial. They may have initially been natural, but they've been built onto and into. In other words, some of these are hollowed out, some of them have been built on top of, some of them have entrances and they have structures on top, some of them have windows and doors and all that kind of thing. Unfortunately with this one you can't see it very well. Let's go to this one because it's a long way off, but it's there. Let me click on the next one. Now, well, I've gone in there and really gone in heavy with some enhancement there, and you can actually see that there is a square thing here and some structures there. So that was that. What I'll do is I'll put these in at the end, as I always do, and you can see all these clips I've done from the raw image right the way through to the enhanced ones. It might be a little bit clearer on this one. It's difficult to get the detail to pop out on this because it's quite a low quality image and it's a long way off. So as I was looking at that, I thought, let's have a look in the foreground. So we got in the foreground, I made this little Gigapan. It's made up of 4 images. And we got this strange row of kind of what seemed to be just normal rocks here. But I actually think this is along the sort of causeway which leads to what I've called the temple on Mars, the Hanuman temple, which has a whole rows of statues in front of it, mostly buried, but there's rows and rows of statues around it, leading up to it and around it, okay? And this structure here, if you followed this along, would lead you to it. So what we got here is what look like just normal rocks here, eroded rocks, but here we have what looks like a statue head. That's here. It's not very easy to see, I appreciate that, but it's there. And I've done a meme clip of it here, which I'll show you now very briefly. I'll put all these in again at the end of the video as well, so you can see all these and look at them a bit more carefully and for a bit longer, because I'm doing this rather quickly at the moment. There we have it. Now, a lot of pareidolia police will just say this is just pareidolia playing up here. I don't think it is. Why? Because, well, I found over 100 statues and similar things in the area. So everything has to be considered. And this isn't very clear. It's rather crude. It looks like a kind of Buddha, or rather like an old man with a very round face. And it's got a sort of slightly pointed nose there and a mouth. But if you look at the detail, there are teeth there. You can see teeth detail. Do I think this is mummified? No, I think this is an actual carving. It's heavily eroded. Could be 1 million years old, could be merely thousands of years old. I don't know. There's no way of telling just by looking at it. But there are some interesting details here when you look at it up close. You've got a chin there, and you've got some teeth with lips, a nose with a nostril here, and eyes. Now, of course, it's very crude, but a lot of the statues I found are very crude. Some are very lifelike looking, some of them look very human, and some of them look very crude and quite ugly looking, and gargoyle looking. Much like some of the ones on my channel here. If you look at my channel art, these are some of the better ones that I found in the past. Some of these were found by other people. But some of them are very crude, some of them are very lifelike. This one isn't a statue, this one is actually a head. That was photographed by the Opportunity rover. It's a dead Martian, mummified. But some are quite Olmec looking, some look kind of Greco-Roman almost in style. Some look very stylized with very pointed heads and strange hats on. Some are kind of animalistic. This one here is one that was on Ancient Aliens, so a couple of these were, this one as well. Some of them look like something from maybe Atlantis or from somewhere like that, or perhaps Mayan even. And some of them look kind of like Buddhas and or even Hindu gods and stuff like that as well, like this. So we have a very, very eclectic mixture and interesting mixture of culture going on here. And basically it shows that Mars, or at least this part of Mars, was inhabited by lots of different types of people, and they had different eras and had different civilizations that overlapped each other and died off and then came back again, like we have on Earth. Okay, so an open mind is required when looking at these images, as I always say, because one day our very survival may depend on it. And it would be, I think it's frivolous and childish to throw away such finds as just pareidolia, because these may turn out to be incredibly important one day. And if they were found on Earth, then no one would dismiss them as pareidolia. It's only because they're on another planet that people do that, and use that swamp gas weather balloon-like excuse for everything that's ever found on Mars. Every single newspaper article has the word pareidolia at the bottom. They have a standard statement which was issued by NASA. years ago when people like myself started putting stuff in the press. So there's also this thing here that looks like a skull. It's not very clear, of course. It's not very big. It's probably only about 3 or 4 inches across. There it is, enhanced. Basically, you can see 2 eyes and a nose with nostrils and some teeth here, like a row of teeth. Not very clear, but you can see some teeth there. Unfortunately, the image quality isn't great. This is quite small. It's not very close to the rover, and it's very pixelated, and you've got all these kind of blocky squares in the image. That's from pixelation. There's nothing I can do about that. But it looks like a skull, and there are hundreds in the area, as I have shown previously. And obviously we have this thing which I've just showed you, which looks like a carved head, a very chubby old man, I would say. Who knows? Perhaps he was some kind of dignitary or something, some kind of holy man or leader. Generally, carvings don't get made of average people like me or you. They usually get made of important people who pay for the structures to be built or pay for the building to be built, and are usually rich tradesmen or merchants or politicians or clergymen or something like that. Okay, so statues don't tend to get made of unimportant civilians. So there we are. That was it really. I'll put some clips in a minute so you can look at these all together, and I'll try and enhance that building a little bit more. It's difficult to see because basically it's quite a long way off. It's miles and miles away from the rover, but you can see that there are some structures on top of this mound here. I think this one was probably the clearest. There we are. You can see that there are some roof-like structures up here on top of this mound that look like they've been carved or cut into the mound. Very interesting. So there we are. I'll put a few other clips of things that are similar in this area as well coming up in a minute. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you feel like you might want to give a donation, there are details of my PayPal in the description below. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.